Good morning. Today on Spotlight, we'll answer the question, is Detroit green enough? And what's the future of nonprofit organizations operating in this state? We'll put those questions to Rebecca Salomon-Witt, the president of the Greening of Detroit, and Board of Trustees Chair Keith Cooley. And welcome to Spotlight, two people who are very involved in turning this city around from different perspectives. We'll talk to them today on Spotlight. Keith Cooley, he is chairman of the board of the Greening of Detroit. He's also a past cabinet head in the Granholm administration. And we welcome you to Spotlight. And Rebecca Salomon-Witt, who is president of the Greening of Detroit. Welcome to Spotlight. Let me start with you, Keith Cooley. You wrote a provocative piece in Crain's Detroit not too long ago talking about overhead and unrestricted funding as it relates to nonprofits. What in the world was the point of that, and what's been the reaction to it?
I think, well, the last question first, I think the reaction has been a good positive one. The point of it was to simply say that in the not-for-profit sectors, there seems to be a real problem with funding of overhead, a problem that doesn't exist in for-profit companies in the main. And yet, when we don't fund overhead, when we don't fund the Rebeccas and the folks that do the income tax and the folks that sweep the floors and get the funding.
And for that non-CPA person out there, when you say funding of overhead specifically, what do you mean?
When I say funding of overhead, I essentially mean funding of any resources used by an organization that don't directly affect the product. In a car company, for example, you've got people that work on the line and they make the cars. But you also have people that sweep up the floors in there, that cut the grass, that do any of a number of things, including advertising, marketing, and financial work that helps to support that whole industry. Well, it's the same inside of a not-for-profit. At the Greening, we have people that actually plant trees and actually make gardens go and actually train young folks in the city to be gardeners or to be part of the agricultural workforce. But there are a number of folks behind the scene that we call overhead that do all this other work to support that process.
All right, and what would you like to see done that's not currently done?
I'd like very much to see a way for the funding community, the Kreskes and the Kellogg's and maybe the GMs and Fords, the other folks that fund organizations like the Greening, not just the Greening itself, like the Greening, make room for additional monies to be provided in an unrestricted fashion to the overhead cost of making so many wonderful things come to be in the city of Detroit.
So what's been the reaction from people like Marion Nolan with the Community Foundation for Southeast Michigan, which, you know, it has a pretty big funding structure bucket there, and people such as her, Kellogg Foundation, others, the Phil Fishers. What's been their reaction?
I haven't heard much from them directly, but I think I can tell you what they would say. Having been CEO of Focus Hope, I think they would say something like this: the overhead piece is an important piece, but until we can figure out how to measure productively the outcomes that go along with increasing overhead, it's going to be difficult for us to make that change. And one of the things that we'd like to do, I know Rebecca's talked to me about it a lot, is find ways to measure outputs, outcomes, and impact in a much better way than we have in the past. So we got a part of the problem too.
All right.